At this point, I think we have enough shadow color on this whole subject since it's quite a light subject. But I think what I'm going to do is enhance some of the warm color in some of these areas here, just to give it a little bit more life. And I'm going to keep this area quite light because that is my highlight area. But I think I'm just going to add a little bit more color, feathering it out, and actually putting it more in the shadow areas than in the highlight areas, just to brighten it up a little. All right, so we'll let this dry. At this point, I'm going to start to put in some details and see what happens. I'm sure I'll have to go back in and do a few other shadow applications, but I don't want to take it too far at this point, because whatever I do from now on will be basically some dry brush work, which is what I'm doing right now to put some detail into this stem attachment. Now the next thing I'm going to do, now that I'm ready to put some pattern on here, is I'm going to lay this back down on here and transfer all of the pattern that I have drawn onto this tracing paper. And I've transferred them onto the painting itself. And as you can see, I did start to play with this a little bit because I couldn't resist. Now that I've got the variegation transferred onto the painting, I can go in now and start to work on that part of the squash. If I need to add more darks after that, then we will decide whether or not to put some more Winsor Violet into the shadows. So let's paint. I'm going to start with the darkest green first and then add some of the yellows along some of this variegation as well, but I'll save that until last. Very carefully block in what the green pattern is doing. Trying to follow the actual pattern that I see on the object itself. Now down at this end, this starts to get a little yellower. So I'm going to darken up this area a little bit more just by dropping paint into that wet shape. Now at this end, I'm going to take a little bit of that green and I'm going to add a little yellow to it. And while it's wet, I'll blend it so that it gets lighter as it comes down towards the curve, and then add just a little bit of green at this end. Remember charging? Basically, this is kind of charging, where we're blending the colors together to get the right effect. The important thing is that you want to be as accurate as it possibly can be. So really look at the pattern that's been created on whatever specimen you're working on, and really try to replicate that as closely as you can, because it's that characterization that's going to give this thing the look that it needs. So we're getting to the end. We have a couple more places to paint, and we will then probably add a little bit more shadow color just to give it a little bit more volume. I am going to add a few more darks. I'm just dry brushing on a little bit more color here and there, just to give it a little bit more depth. Okay, I could continue to work on it a little bit more, but this is close enough so that you can see how to go about doing these. And there you have it, a squash with variegated texture.